Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're diving into something really critical in security, but often overlooked, honestly. It's the surveillance blind spot. Think about it. If you're managing a big place, maybe a warehouse, a factory floor, even a school campus,
Yeah.
you probably spent a lot on cameras maybe years ago.
Right, a significant investment usually.
But there are always those spots, aren't there? The dark corners, the far end of the fence line, maybe a loading dock with no power nearby. That's where the infrastructure just stops.
And that's exactly where the vulnerability starts, that blind spot. That's where the real losses happen. It's not just, a theoretical risk.
No.
No. I mean, look at the numbers. U.S. retail shrinkage, that includes things like organized theft, it hit, what, $112.1 billion back in 2022? That's staggering.
Wow.
And that money isn't just disappearing into thin air. Criminals, especially the more sophisticated ones, they actively look for those gaps, the places fixed cameras just miss, or where, frankly, human operators get tired.
And those gaps are huge liabilities. So, our mission today is really to give you a kind of strategic shortcut.
Yeah.
We want to explore how you can get to blind spot-free security. But crucially, how to do it by integrating smart AI software and mobile hardware onto the system you already have, the old stuff.
Right, avoiding that massive rip-and-replace cost. Nobody wants that.
Exactly. So how do we avoid tearing everything out and starting from scratch? That's the big question.
Well, the core idea really is layering. It's not about replacement. You don't need to ditch everything you've already invested in.
Okay.
Instead, you layer intelligent, tireless AI agents. Think of them as software brains over your current cameras.
Yeah.
That turns those passive recorders into active watchers.
Active watchers.
Yeah, and then you strategically add deployable modular hardware. Think mobile units, solar cameras, stuff you can place exactly where you need it to fill those physical gaps where running wires is just impossible or way too expensive.
So you end up with a network that's cohesive, works 24/7, it's intelligent, it both sees and thinks.
Precisely. Using the foundation you already own.
All right, let's break that down. First, let's really nail down the problems with the old way, the legacy security systems. Because for a lot of organizations, that existing setup is, well, a source of major headaches.
Oh, absolutely. It is. I mean, think about traditional fixed CCTV cameras. The moment you install one, you're limited by, well, just basic physics, right?
How so?
They usually have a fixed view, maybe 90 degrees, maybe 120 if you're lucky. Anything just outside that cone could be a pillar, a stack of boxes, a stairwell. It becomes a blind spot, a zone of invisibility.
So you've basically designed the gaps in from day one.
Pretty much, yeah. Built-in blind spots.
And even if you have the best cameras, there's still the human element. Guards are essential, obviously, for judgment, for response, but people get tired.
They do. You just can't expect someone to stare intently at, say, 30 different camera feeds for 8 hours straight and catch everything. It's just not humanly possible.
And the cost of having enough staff to try and do that? 2047 across a large site.
It's huge, often prohibitive. We saw some data, I think it was a survey of schools, that found staff were only actively watching the camera feed something like 11% of the time.
Only 11%.
Yeah, which means, for the other 89% of the time, that expensive security system is essentially just recording, flying blind in a way.
So fundamentally reactive then. It gives you the footage, the evidence, but only after something bad has already happened.
Exactly. It's great at documenting crime, not so great at actually preventing it.
Which is like calling the fire department after the house is already burned down.
That's a good analogy, yeah. And this risk gets really serious in certain areas. Take parking lots, for example.
Always a trouble spot.
Definitely. The FBI data showed they were the third most common place for violent crime in 2022. And something like 40% of car break-ins happen there. These are often big, open areas covered by maybe 1 or 2 wide-angle cameras. Easy to exploit if you know where to stand.
Or think about retail, like you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
Organized retail crime, it just exploded, up nearly 100% in 2023.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
And those gangs, they know the systems. They know the dead spots between the aisles, the service corridors where the lighting's bad, maybe when the guard takes a coffee break. They leverage the static nature of those old systems.
So just adding more fixed cameras or even more guards doesn't really solve the core issue.
Not fundamentally, no. You need something more dynamic, something tireless.
Okay, that leads us right into the software side then. Section 2. Adding the intelligence with these AI agents. This is where you make those existing passive cameras wake up.
Wake up. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. The AI agents are like the brain layer, the force multiplier. They don't necessarily need new cameras. They run on your network and instantly give your existing cameras the ability to analyze what they're seeing and, crucially, respond.
And they don't get tired, don't need breaks.
Exactly. They don't look away, and they can spot patterns or anomalies that a person, especially a tired one, might easily miss.
Okay, let's talk specifics. First one is the AI inspector. You called it a better patrol guard. What does it actually do?
So its job is vigilance and movement. The key thing is, it takes control of your existing PTZ cameras. You know, the ones that can pan, tilt, and zoom.
Right, the movable ones.
Yeah. Instead of just sticking to a fixed, pre-programmed route, the AI inspector uses its own logic to conduct intelligent patrols. It actively pans around, it zooms in automatically if it spots something unusual, filling those coverage gaps that a manual operator might miss during a routine tour.
And it can learn specific things to look for, like virtual tripwires.
Absolutely. You can train it to recognize, say, a person loitering near a restricted fence after hours, or a vehicle parked in a no parking zone for too long.
Okay, Hannah, how complicated is that training? If I've got like a specific weak spot near a delivery area, does the AI need weeks to learn the layout or?
No, it's actually designed to be pretty straightforward, especially compared to older machine learning stuff. You basically define what's normal for that scene. Then in the software, you draw a virtual line or box with your tripwire. You tell it what counts as an anomaly, like a person crossing this line between midnight and 6 a.m.
So relatively quick setup.
Yeah, you don't need to be a data scientist to set up the basic rules. It's designed for security teams to use easily.
Okay, so the AI inspector spots something, it confirms the threat. What happens next?
Right.
The system needs to do something, right? That brings us to the AI virtual guard.
Exactly. Detection is only half the battle. The virtual guard is about active, real-time deterrence. It connects to devices you might already have on site, or that can be added easily, things like loudspeakers, strobe lights, floodlights.
So it turns detection into an actual intervention.
Precisely. It stops just recording and starts confronting.
Okay, but what about mistakes? False alarms. You don't want it shouting at the overnight cleaning crew or a delivery truck that's just running a bit late. How smart is this automated yelling?
That's a really important point. Accuracy is key. So the AI inspector does the initial detection, and then the virtual guard acts based on rules you set. You can create exclusion zones, set specific times of day, maybe require multiple conditions to be met before it triggers an alarm.
So you fine-tune it.
Right. But when those conditions are met, then the virtual guard kicks in instantly with that automated warning. You know, a loud voice saying, "Security alert, you are in a restricted area, leave immediately."
So instead of just getting a recording of the break-in later, you're potentially stopping it right then and there. You're taking away their surprise.
And that immediate confrontation, it's incredibly powerful for prevention. Studies and real-world cases show that active deterrence using lights and sound can actually prevent something like 94% of potential crimes before they escalate.
94%, that's huge.
It is. Often just the sudden lights and that loud voice is enough to startle an intruder. They might drop whatever they were trying to steal and just run.
That's a really strong case for proactive security. But, okay, even with great deterrence, sometimes things still happen. You still need to investigate after the fact.
Absolutely, and that's where the AI investigator comes in. Think of it as your digital forensics expert, working 24/7. Anyone who's had to manually scrub through hours or even days of video footage from DVRs or NVRs knows what a nightmare that is. Oh, yeah.
Painful.
The investigator automates that whole process.
And the really cool part seems to be this magic search feature. Tell me about that.
Magic Search is, well, it's kind of revolutionary for security footage. It basically turns your entire video archive into a searchable database, almost like Google for your cameras.
How does that work?
Instead of dragging a timeline marker back and forth, you just type in what you're looking for using natural language. Like, show me anyone wearing a red jacket near the main entrance yesterday between 2 and 3 p.m. Or find all the blue delivery vans that entered the South Gate last Tuesday.
Seriously, just type it in.
Just type it in. The AI analyzes the footage and pulls up the relevant clips almost instantly. We've seen data showing this can speed up investigations by as much as 72%. Just think of the human hour saved.
Okay, so the AI software layer sounds incredibly powerful for the cameras you already have. But, like you said, software can't see where there's no camera. If you've got a huge property with only a few wired camera spots, you still have those big physical blind spots.
Exactly. Which takes us straight to Section 3, expanding your physical reach using deployable hardware.
Right. Getting eyes where you couldn't before.
Precisely. You need coverage that goes beyond where your cables end. And the great thing about modern deployable hardware is that it's modular, it's scalable, and often it's solar powered and uses wireless or cellular connections.
Which means no digging trenches for power lines or network cables.
Exactly. That avoids a massive cost and installation headache, especially on large or already developed sites.
Okay, so what kind of hardware are we talking about? Let's start with those really remote areas, the far edges of the property.
For those spots, 4G solar cameras are usually the answer. These are perfect for places with zero existing infrastructure. Think that distant fence line, an access road miles from the main building, maybe a remote storage shed.
And they just run on solar power.
Yep, completely off-grid. They provide continuous 204/7 surveillance, directly eliminating the blind spot caused by having no power or data lines out there. And they connect back to your main system using the 4G cellular network, just like your phone. So they integrate seamlessly with the AI agents we were just talking about.
Okay, makes sense for fixed remote spots.
Mm.
What about temporary needs or areas where the risk changes quickly, like a construction zone?
For that kind of dynamic situation, you'd look at something like the Guard Box Air. Think of it as a compact, all-in-one rapid deployment unit.
Rapid deployment. How fast?
Sometimes one person can set it up in just a few minutes. It's designed to be moved easily as the site changes or the threat shifts. It has its own solar power cameras built in and usually includes deterrents like lights and a speaker tied into the AI virtual guard.
Gotcha. So quick and flexible. Now, what if you need something more heavy-duty, more permanent feeling, but still mobile, like for a big parking lot or a distribution center yard?
Then you're probably looking at the Guard Box Pro. This is more of an enterprise-grade mobile surveillance station. It's built tough.
And what makes it pro? What's special about its cameras?
The real power of the Pro is often how it combines two types of cameras to completely eliminate blind spots in its vicinity. It typically has an 8-megapixel panoramic camera giving you a super wide 180-degree view. It constantly watches the whole scene.
Okay, so it keeps the big picture covered.
Always. And paired with that is usually a high-powered PTZ camera, maybe 4 megapixels, but with something like 25x optical zoom.
So the AI inspector uses the wide view to spot something.
Exactly. Spots an anomaly in the panoramic view, then instantly tells the PTZ camera to zoom right in on the detail, track the person or vehicle. It ensures nothing gets lost between the wide view and the close-up. It's really effective synergy in one mobile package.
Right, continuous tracking. And for the absolute biggest areas, maybe a massive event space or that huge shopping mall parking lot you mentioned?
For maximum coverage and height, you've got the Alpha Trailer. This is basically a full-sized mobile surveillance tower on wheels.
Oh, tower.
Yeah, it has a telescoping mast that can go up, around 7 meters, maybe 20, 25 feet. That height is key. It lets the cameras look over obstructions like parked cars or landscaping that create blind spots at ground level.
And it can power itself for a while.
Oh, yeah. These things usually have serious solar panels and battery banks. They can often run completely off-grid for days, providing reliable, elevated surveillance over really large areas.
Okay, this hardware sounds impressive for filling the gaps. Which brings us nicely to Section 4, putting it all together. Why does this integrated approach, AI software plus deployable hardware, actually work better? What are the real benefits?
Let's use that parking lot example again because it illustrates the synergy really well. Imagine that big, sprawling lot.
Okay.
You've put a couple of those 4G solar cameras way out in the darkest, furthest corners, and maybe you've placed a Guard Box Pro more centrally. Now, the AI inspector software is constantly watching the feeds from all of those cameras.
Right. So a potential thief tries their luck at 2 a.m. in that far corner, a spot the old fixed cameras couldn't really see properly.
Boom. Instant detection by the AI inspector watching the feed from that solar camera. The system verifies it's a person acting suspiciously. Immediately, the AI virtual guard triggers the floodlights and a loud voice warning directly from that 4G camera unit itself.
So the action is right there, immediate, localized.
Exactly. No delay waiting for someone in a control room miles away to react. And at the same time,
An alert goes to the human security guard.
yes, but critically, the human guard isn't staring at static screens all night. They get alerted when something actually requires their judgment or a physical response. They see the live video, often with the AI already tracking the suspect as they move, maybe from the solar camera view to the Guard Box Pro view.
So it hands off the tracking between cameras seamlessly.
It can, yes. That's something traditional systems could never do. The AI handles the monotonous, constant watching. The human handles the complex decision-making and intervention. It's just a much more efficient use of resources.
And the cost argument. Integrating versus replacing everything, that seems like a huge factor here.
It's massive. Integration lets you leverage the investment you already made in cameras and infrastructure. You sweat your assets, as they say. The main new investment is in the smart software and maybe some targeted hardware pieces, not ripping out and replacing miles of cable and dozens of cameras.
Which has got to be cheaper.
Way cheaper. Some industry analysis suggests that adding AI and targeted hardware to an existing system can cut the total cost of achieving that higher level of security by up to 75% compared to a full rip and replace.
75%. That's significant.
It really is. Plus, think about scalability. You don't have to do the whole property at once.
Right. You could start with maybe the 3 highest risk blind spots this quarter, see the results, then add a couple more mobile units next quarter when the budget allows.
Exactly. Your security system becomes flexible, elastic. It's not this giant fixed thing that's instantly outdated the day after you install it. It's modular. It grows and adapts as your risks change.
So this combination, the tireless AI, the versatile hardware, working together, it leads to a system that's just smarter, leaner.
Absolutely.
Right.
Smarter and leaner,
Yeah.
which directly translates into fewer losses, fewer security incidents, and ultimately a safer environment for everyone, employees, customers, visitors. The proactive prevention aspect completely changes the return on investment calculation for security spending.
Okay, so to wrap up this deep dive then, the core strategy seems really clear. You use AI agents for the brains, the intelligence, the tireless watching.
Right. Layered over what you have.
And you use deployable hardware for the reach, the eyes in every corner, filling those physical gaps. And this integrated approach, it kind of future-proofs your security, doesn't it? You upgrade through software updates, you add modules as needed, rather than facing these huge disruptive hardware overhauls every few years.
Exactly. It lets your system see more, think faster, and act sooner.
But there's something more here, isn't there?
Yeah.
You mentioned turning security from just an expense into something else.
Yeah, I think what's truly transformative, beyond just stopping crime, is that when you eliminate those blind spots and add this layer of intelligence, your security infrastructure stops being just a static cost center. It becomes, well, a searchable, data-rich operational asset.
Because of things like Magic Search.
Precisely. Think about it.
Okay, so here's the final thought for you, the listener. To mull over as you think about your own site, your own security setup. What new insights, what operational improvements could your business uncover if suddenly every significant physical event happening on your property, past and present, was instantly searchable? What if you could just ask your security system questions?